Have you ever wondered why some people always make the right decisions at the right time, handle complex situations with calm, and seem to see what others can't? It's not because they're born smarter. It's not because they have a genius brain. The secret lies in one thing: a unique mental habit, a way of training the mind that, if you master and practice daily, will make you smarter than 90% of those around you. They don't react on instinct. They don't get swept up by the crowd. They don't let emotions override reason. They do something most of us overlook. They observe themselves. They question what they believe to be true. They dare to face reality, even when it hurts. And they choose to live by a profound, ancient, and powerful philosophy. The philosophy of sages like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca. Stoicism. In today's chaotic world, where fake news spreads faster than truth, where impulsive emotions dominate social media, and where distractions steal our ability to think deeply, possessing the right mental habits is a superpower. It doesn't come from luck. It doesn't come from genetics. It comes from choosing to master your inner world, your reactions, and your life. In this video, you'll discover 9 mental habits to upgrade your intelligence, rise above the shallowness and chaos of the masses, and become someone nothing can conquer. Each habit is a sharp weapon to help you think deeper, live clearer, and respond wiser. This isn't just a video, it's a mental roadmap for those who want an extraordinary life. If you're ready to embark on a journey to become dangerously intelligent, make sure to hit like, share this video with loved ones, and subscribe to not miss any lessons from this ancient yet profoundly practical philosophy. Now let's start with the first thing. What you must let go of immediately if you want a mind sharper than anyone else's. Number 1, let go of what you can't control. Focus inward. One of the core principles to becoming smarter, wiser, and unshakable is this: let go of what you can't control and redirect all your attention inward. It sounds simple, but it runs counter to how most people live. Instead of focusing on what they can change, their behavior, attitude, reactions, and thoughts, they pour their energy into things beyond their reach. The news, others' words, loved ones' actions, societal expectations, or uncertain outcomes. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Your happiness depends on what you choose to think about. You can't control the world, but you can control how you perceive it." The wise don't waste time blaming bad weather, an unfair government, or others' thoughtlessness. They look inward and ask, what can I do in this situation? What can I control right now? How can I respond to stay calm and clear-headed? The secret is this: stress, frustration, and disappointment arise when you demand that things beyond your control align with your desires. You want sunny weather for a trip, your partner to understand you without explanation, or a raise just because you worked hard. But the world doesn't bend to your expectations. When those expectations are betrayed, you suffer. Now imagine stopping. Stop expecting everything to go your way. Stop demanding others act as you think they should. Stop obsessing over things beyond your grasp. When you do, you'll feel an extraordinary freedom. A space opens up where you can observe yourself, listen to your inner voice, and channel your energy into what you can control: your health, thoughts, habits, learning, and growth. Here's the magic. When you stop trying to control the world, you become smarter about it. You react faster, yet stay calmer. You're harder to manipulate by external emotions. You stop playing the blame game or complaining. Instead, you become a creator, shaping your inner world to respond wisely, not impulsively. Stoics call this distinguishing between what you can and cannot control. Epictetus taught his students, "A free person knows what's their business and what isn't." The question to ask daily isn't, "Why is this happening to me?" but Am I focusing on what I can change? This habit, shifting attention from outward to inward, is an advanced intellectual skill. It demands sharp self-observation, restraint from instant reactions, and a deep belief that you're responsible for how you live, no matter the circumstances. The more you focus inward, the clearer you become. You realize emotions are just data, not commands. You can be angry without acting in anger. You can be sad without giving up. You can be afraid yet keep moving forward. This is true strength. Look at history's greatest figures: emperors, philosophers, scientists, creators. They shared one trait: mastery of their inner world. Amid wars, criticism, failure, or chaos, they kept a clear mind because they knew the line between what they could and couldn't control. A modern example is social media. The wise don't get sucked into pointless arguments, try to change stubborn minds, or live for virtual validation through likes. They use social media as a tool, not an emotional chain. They can't control others' thoughts, but they control their own time and energy. Starting today, embrace a simple yet life-changing action. When you feel irritated, frustrated, or low, ask, am I focusing on something I can't control? If the answer is yes, turn inward. This is the mental exercise to practice daily. If this resonates, hit like to let YouTube's algorithm know you value deep content. Share this video with someone struggling with inner unrest. And if you haven't, subscribe to continue this journey toward becoming unshakable from within. Number 2, rehearse the worst-case scenario. Prepare for loss. If you want to be truly strong and wise in any situation, you must embrace one of the oldest mental habits practiced by Stoics: imagining the worst possible outcome. To some, this may sound negative or pessimistic, but in reality, it's one of the most powerful psychological tools for preparing your mind, mastering your emotions, and living with ultimate inner freedom. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Think as if you've lost what you hold dear, and you'll begin to cherish it as if you've just regained it." This is the essence of an exercise called premeditatio malorum, deliberately visualizing loss, failure, or disaster. Instead of pretending life will always be smooth, the wise train their minds to be ready for loss and pain at any moment. Not to dwell in fear, but to become immune to the shock if the worst truly happens. Try this. Imagine losing your job, a loved one passing, being betrayed, your efforts wasted, or your dreams collapsing. When you dare to face these scenarios in your mind, something strange happens. They're not as terrifying as you thought. The initial imagination might spark anxiety, but then you hear a quiet inner voice saying, "I can still stand." That voice is your inner strength. Conversely, if you avoid these thoughts, living in the illusion that everything will always be fine, you weaken yourself. When real adversity strikes, your mind panics, your emotions shatter, and you're left unprepared to adapt. Epictetus taught, "We are not harmed by events, but by how we think about them." Visualizing the worst doesn't cause it, it redefines your relationship with loss. Instead of seeing loss as a tragedy, you view it as an inevitable part of life's game. Your mind accepts this truth. Everything can be taken away, but your wisdom, resilience, and dignity, if forged, can never be lost. The wise aren't those who avoid pain. They're the ones who've trained so pain can't crush them. By regularly closing your eyes and picturing the worst, you're giving your mind a mental vaccine. Each visualization boosts your adaptability, prepares intelligent responses, and makes you harder to break. One clear benefit of this habit is greater appreciation for the present. When you imagine a loved one no longer by your side, you'll express more love today. When you picture your career crumbling, you'll stop dreading your morning commute. When you think of losing your health, you'll cherish every run or deep breath. Visualizing loss doesn't make you sad, it wakes you up. You can't master life if you live in the delusion that it will always go your way. Life is chaotic, impermanent, and unfair. Instead of resenting this, use it to become invincible. By training your mind to be ready for loss, you become an inner warrior. Someone who can face the worst and still stand tall is extraordinarily intelligent. Start today. Each morning before diving into your busy day, take a few quiet minutes. Picture losing something you have, a loved one, your job, your freedom. Don't do this to torment yourself. Do it to see that you can survive and to realize everything is temporary. When you feel gratitude, humility, and courage rising within you, you're taking a giant step toward surpassing others, not in grades or titles, but in preparing for what others avoid. If this mindset resonates, show it with a like. It helps spread this video and signals to yourself that you're choosing to think differently. Comment below, what do you fear losing most, and how will you train your mind if it happens? Don't forget to subscribe to join us in building unshakable inner strength. Number 3, pause between stimulus and response. Choose freedom. Did you know that in the tiny moment between an event and your reaction lies a profound power that can transform your life? It's the pause, the quiet space between stimulus and response, where you're given the chance to choose, reflect, and master yourself. Viktor Frankl, an Austrian psychologist who survived Nazi concentration camps, said it best: between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is your power to choose your response, and in that choice lies your growth and freedom. This moment lasts mere seconds, sometimes a fraction of a second. When someone insults you, when bad news hits, or when an unexpected situation sparks anger, fear, or hurt, your first instinct is to react, yell, attack, retreat, blame, or sink into silent despair. But the wise don't let instinct rule them. They know that by pausing, taking a deep breath, and asking, how do I want to respond in a way that honors who I am? Their life takes a different trajectory. The more you practice pausing between stimulus and response, the freer you become. Not superficial freedom, but true freedom. Freedom from emotional manipulation, from knee-jerk reactions, from letting circumstances dictate your attitude. In a world where people react hastily, impulsively, angrily, and without control, those who pause stand out as dangerously different. Imagine you're driving and someone cuts you off. You're furious, ready to yell, honk, or chase them. But you pause. You think, will I ruin my day over these few seconds? Is it worth it? And you let it go. The anger fades. Calm returns. You've chosen freedom. Or, in an argument with a loved one, you're about to say something harsh you'll regret. But you pause. You breathe. You see them as another human, struggling with their own pain. You choose to listen instead of attack. That's intelligence. Pausing isn't instinctual. It's trained. Like a muscle, it strengthens with daily practice. Each time a strong emotion arises, remind yourself, you have the power to choose. You're not forced to be angry, sad, or reactive. You've just been conditioned by years of mental habits. But like any habit, you can break it and build a new one. Stoicism teaches that what matters isn't what happens, but how you respond. Marcus Aurelius wrote, if you're pained by something external, it's not the thing that hurts you, but your judgment of it, which you can wipe away at any moment. This isn't mere comfort, it's a strategy for living. The wise know emotions are natural, but responses are chosen. Emotions arise, but actions are yours. You can be angry without shouting. You can be sad without despairing. You can be disappointed without becoming chronically pessimistic. Pausing brings clarity. It creates distance between you and your emotions, between you and the unfolding story. That distance is where wisdom steps in. It's like viewing a painting from afar. You see the whole picture. Fixate on one detail, and it consumes you. A practical way to train this habit is through breathing. When emotions surge, anger, fear, anxiety, envy, focus on your breath. Inhale deeply for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 6 seconds. Repeat a few times. This moment disconnects you from the reflex loop, pulling you from darkness back to light. Another approach, ask, what response will make me proud of myself in 24 hours? This question shifts you from being controlled to actively choosing. The more you practice pausing before reacting, the more reliable and composed you become. Gradually, you stop being a victim of your emotions. You become their master. And as their master, you can build the life you want instead of drifting with circumstances. If this feels powerful, give the video a like to spread this vital habit to others. Comment below. When was the last time you reacted too quickly and wished you'd paused? Subscribe if you want more profound mental tools like this to master yourself. We'll keep going, growing, and becoming a version of ourselves we can be proud of. Next, you'll learn a skill few truly master, questioning everything, even your own thoughts. This is the path to ultimate clarity. Number 4, question everything, even yourself. Seek clarity. Why do you believe what you believe? Why do you act in certain patterns, think in familiar ways, and react with near-automatic instincts? It's because thousands of ideas, beliefs, and biases have taken root in your mind since childhood. Most of them you've never questioned. The truly intelligent, those who rise above 90% of the crowd, are those who dare to question not just the world, but themselves. Questioning doesn't mean cynical doubt. It's a constructive habit to uncover truth beneath the surface. It's like refusing to drink a glass of water just because someone says it's clean. You check, investigate, and filter if needed. Your mind works the same way. The thoughts, beliefs, and definitions in your head need regular scrutiny, renewal, filtering, and sometimes discarding. Do you believe you're not good enough for something? Ask, who said so? On what basis? Have I even tried? Do you think you're a failure? Ask, what evidence am I using to claim this? Am I exaggerating a few stumbles into a label for my entire self? When you start questioning, you'll find many of your self-imposed limits lack solid ground. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "The obstacles in your way are not objects, but how you perceive them. To perceive clearly, you must clear the dust of bias." This is why questioning yourself is a vital skill. Ordinary people question others. The wise question themselves. The dangerous question relentlessly. Apply this to everyday situations. When someone treats you poorly, don't rush to label them bad. Ask, are they going through something that's hurting them? When you feel insecure or envious of another's success, don't judge yourself. Ask, why does this unsettle me? Am I comparing unfairly? Is there something I need to change instead of blaming? These questions don't just untangle emotions. They open the door to deeper wisdom. Questioning requires courage. Sometimes you'll discover you've lived by false beliefs for years. Maybe you thought career A is safe, only to realize you're living a dull life, stifling your passion. Maybe you believed, I can't love again because of past hurt, only to see it's a shield for fear. Courage means facing the truth, even when it stings. But only then do you grow. Questioning doesn't make you weak or faithless. It strengthens your beliefs because they are tested and chosen consciously, not imposed. A child believes in Santa Claus unquestioningly. An adult doesn't, not because they've lost wonder, but because they seek truth. Truth makes your life more reliable. Picture your mind as a library. Without regular cleaning, outdated, inaccurate books gather dust. crowding out space for new valuable ones. Questioning is that cleanup. You keep what's useful, discard what's obsolete, and make room for fresh knowledge. The wise constantly upgrade their mental operating system. A practical way to build this skill is daily journaling. Pick a belief about work, yourself, others, and ask, why do I believe this? What proves it's true? If it's not true, what would I believe instead? Over time, your mind becomes more flexible, sharper, and less trapped by bias. Stoics understood that wisdom isn't a storehouse of answers, but the ability to ask good questions. Socrates, the spiritual father of Western philosophy, wasn't famous for advice, but for dialogue. He didn't tell you how to live. He asked, what does a good life mean to you? From that question, you dig into yourself. To become dangerous in a positive way, train yourself to question everything, even your ego. Don't trust your first thought, examine it. Don't trust your first emotion, understand it. Don't assume you're right just because you think so. Try another's perspective. Questioning is the key to breaking mental walls and stepping into clarity. If this habit feels valuable, share this video with friends stuck in mental ruts. Like it if you're on a journey to rewire your mind. Comment below, what belief did you once hold as true but later realize wasn't? Subscribe to keep exploring mental habits that can transform your life. Next, we'll dive into a crucial skill. Few master resisting the urge to label everything good or bad. This is the turning point to true peace and an unshakable mind. Number 5, don't rush to label things as good or bad. Stay neutral. Do you notice this? Whenever something happens in life, whether minor like missing an appointment or major like losing a job, you instinctively label it good or bad, fortunate or unfortunate, lucky or unlucky. This is a natural reflex of the brain, wired for survival. But ironically, this reflex makes you fragile, unsteady, and prone to suffering. The truly intelligent don't rush to judge. They step back, stay neutral, and let time reveal the true meaning of events. Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman philosopher-emperor, wrote, "The things themselves don't cause you pain, only your judgment of them does." This sounds simple but contradicts how most live. For example, if someone rejects you, you instantly think it's bad. But if you pause and stay calm, you might see it as a chance to focus on yourself or find a better match later. A closed door could be the start of a new journey, but you'll never see it if your mind hastily concludes, "This is awful, I'm a failure." Labeling traps you in an emotional loop. When things don't go your way, you get angry, sad, or demotivated. When praised, you feel elated or smug. You become a prisoner of circumstances, reacting impulsively instead of rationally. The intelligent are different. They observe without judging. They know life has no fixed meaning. Each event is just a point in time, and you can't know where it leads until you look back. A famous Taoist story illustrates this. An old man's prized horse ran away. Neighbors offered condolences, but he said, "Maybe it's a good thing." Days later, the horse returned with a herd of wild horses. Neighbors congratulated him. He replied, "Maybe it's a bad thing." His son rode a new horse, fell, and broke his leg. Neighbors lamented. He said, "Maybe it's a good thing." When war broke out, all young men were drafted except his son, spared due to his injury. The lesson: no one knows what's truly good or bad until the full picture emerges. In reality, the most successful, resilient, and strong people don't react too quickly. They face failure without blaming, giving up, or assuming they're cursed. They stay neutral, observe, learn, and adapt. This composure lets them navigate adversity without being consumed by negative emotions. Staying neutral doesn't mean apathy or detachment. It's a high-level mastery of emotions, the ability to stand in a rushing river without being swept away. It allows you to make clear decisions in chaos, keep a steady mind when everything collapses, and gain a psychological edge 90% of others lack. To practice this, change your inner language. Instead of saying, "It's terrible I got fired," try, "I've experienced a change. I don't yet know where it leads." Instead of, "It's great I got praise," think, "This reflects my effort, but I shouldn't depend on praise." Language shapes thought, and thought shapes destiny. A powerful technique is keeping a reaction journal. When something seems bad happens, write down your initial response, then set it aside. Revisit it after 3 days, a week, or a month to see if it was truly as bad as you thought. Many who do this find 80% of what they labeled negative turned out to be opportunities for growth, improvement, or positive change. This habit also improves communication. When someone says something harsh, instead of labeling it disrespectful or hostile, pause and ask, what emotion drove them to say this? What can I learn from this feedback? Neutrality creates space between stimulus and response, where you have the power to choose, not be controlled. If today's lesson resonates, hit like to spread this video further. Comment below, have you had an experience you initially thought was bad, but later turned out good? Subscribe to keep sharpening your mind and mastering your inner world day by day. Number 6, always remember you will die. Live with purpose. Imagine one day, while strolling down the street, a car swerves out of control. Everything goes dark. No time for regrets. No time to say, "I love you." No time to do what you've always put off. It's over in seconds. The scariest part isn't the suddenness of death. It's realizing you haven't truly lived before it arrives. The wise don't shy away from death. They face it daily. This makes them live more deeply, with sharper focus and clearer purpose, far beyond most. In Stoic philosophy, there's a powerful concept called memento mori, remember you will die. This isn't pessimism or gloom, it's a wake-up call. When you realize each moment could be your last, you stop wasting time on nonsense. You care less about criticism, stop delaying your passions, prioritize meaningful conversations with loved ones, and live with intention. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and think." He wrote this not from fear, but from clarity. As an emperor with all power and comfort, he still journaled nightly to remind himself he wasn't immortal. Death levels everyone. Those who grasp this don't squander time on comparison, envy, or petty disputes. They focus on what matters, living so that when their final moment comes, they have no regrets. Picture this. If you knew you had 1 year left, what would you change? Would you still scroll social media for hours? Delay learning that skill you've always wanted? Stay in a toxic relationship out of fear? Likely not. You'd live urgently yet mindfully, choosing meaning over comfort, values over others' approval. The wise carry an awareness of death in their minds, not to live in fear, but to live with urgency. Time is the only asset you can't reclaim. You can lose money and earn it back, lose a job and find another, but every day that passes is gone forever. The intelligent don't spend time. They invest it in self-growth, deep relationships, meaningful projects, and experiences that stir their soul. Steve Jobs, Apple's founder, shared that every morning he looked in the mirror and asked, "If today were my last day, would I want to do what I'm about to do?" If the answer was no too many days in a row, he knew he needed change. This habit helped him realign his life, creating world-changing products. You don't need to be a tech genius to do this. Just ask yourself daily, if this were my last day, am I living right? Contemplating death doesn't lead to fear, but to focus. It shows you that today's anger, a small argument, means nothing if you're near the end. It reveals that the dreams you postpone, learning guitar, writing a book, starting a business, traveling, might never happen if you don't start now. Above all, it makes you cherish each moment. A morning coffee, sunlight through a window, a friend's smile. These small things are life. A powerful exercise is to write your own eulogy. Imagine you've passed, and a loved one is reading it. What would they say about you? What do you want them to say? Then live now to make that vision real. This isn't a game, it's a profound tool to steer your life. Knowing the ending you want helps you craft a worthy journey. If this moves you, share this video with the person you cherish most, someone you want to live fully with. Like it to spread the message of living awake and with purpose. Comment below, if you had 1 year left, what would be your top priority? I'll read and respond to the most heartfelt shares. Don't forget to subscribe to keep elevating your mind, awakening your spirit, and living a life worth remembering. Number 7, admit when you're wrong and pivot fast. Embrace truth. Nothing hinders intelligence and growth more than pride. The ego craves being right, seeks validation, and clings to control. But here's the stark, liberating truth. You're wrong more often than you think. The issue isn't being wrong. It's whether you're humble and clear-headed enough to admit it. The truly intelligent don't aim to always be right. They aim to learn fast. They don't tie themselves to ideas but to truth. When truth shows they're wrong, they don't resist. They adapt. In today's society, admitting you're wrong is almost revolutionary. We're raised in systems that reward being right and shame mistakes, from school to work, family to social media. This makes us fear error, hide it at all costs, and feel humiliated when exposed. But that's the trap keeping most people stagnant. They spend their lives defending outdated views instead of evolving. They fight to prove they're right in small battles, missing bigger lessons. The result? They're stuck in self-made illusions. Contrast this with the most successful people, whether in science, business, art, or philosophy. They share a surprising trait. They change their beliefs quickly when new evidence arises. They don't see being wrong as shameful, but as proof of growth. They face facts, welcome feedback, spot biases, and pivot. Not because they lack conviction, but because they have a greater one. Pursuing truth matters more than protecting ego. Take Ray Dalio, founder of Bridgewater Associates, one of the world's most successful hedge funds. He once went bankrupt due to a wrong economic prediction. Instead of justifying or blaming, he openly documented his lessons, built a transparent feedback system in his firm, and made admitting mistakes a core part of its culture. Result? Bridgewater became a model of collective intelligence and real-time strategy adjustment. If Dalio hadn't faced his failure head-on, he wouldn't have risen so powerfully. In daily life, we constantly choose: defend the ego or expand the mind. Every time you argue to avoid losing, you shut the door to learning. Every time you blame circumstances instead of owning your role, you miss growth. Every time you pretend to know something instead of humbly asking, you limit yourself. But if you pause mid-argument and say, "I think I was wrong, thanks for pointing it out," you're not weak, you're braver than most. There's a concept of self-correction speed, the time between realizing you're wrong and changing your thoughts or actions. The smartest aren't those who never err, but those who shorten this time the fastest. In today's fast-changing world, learning quickly is a survival tool. Clinging to old beliefs in a new reality leaves you behind. Flexibility lets you reinvent yourself, surpass mistakes, and move forward. The problem: ego resists admitting error because it fears being hurt. But when you see mistakes as data, not reflections of your worth, you free yourself. Feedback becomes valuable insight, not criticism. You don't need to be the most correct person, but the fastest learner. Admitting error isn't failure. It's the starting line for greater wins. Epictetus said, "If someone shows you're wrong and you drop that belief, you're not harmed, you're helped." Carry this mindset daily. In a world of noise, bias, and false beliefs, those brave enough to admit error and pivot evolve fastest. They don't fear correction, they fear stagnation. They don't cling to the past, they tie themselves to growth. A small but powerful habit: each night ask, "Where was I wrong today?" Then, "What did I learn?" Write it down. This builds self-reflection, emotional intelligence, humility, and mental strength. Over time, you'll embrace feedback as a chance to sharpen your mind, unafraid of criticism. You'll become like constantly updating software, always better than your old version. If this resonates, hit like to show you're on this journey to grow. Share this video with a friend who's also learning from mistakes, not fearing them. Comment below, when was the last time you admitted you were wrong, and what changed in you? I'll pick the most heartfelt stories to respond to in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe to keep unlocking your intellectual potential. Number 8, don't let the crowd think for you. Stand alone in a world increasingly dominated by social media, real-time news, and the pressure to conform. Independent thinking is a rare but invaluable trait. We often believe we're thinking for ourselves, but many of our beliefs, decisions, and reactions are shaped by the crowd, by what everyone thinks, by the fear of being different, criticized, or isolated. The trap is that collective consensus feels safe, but that safety makes you lazy in thought, weakens your ability to analyze, and leaves you vulnerable to manipulation. Independent thinking isn't about rebellion or eccentricity. It's not about opposing the crowd just to stand out. It's the courage to ask, is what I believe truly right, or is it just repeated often? Am I thinking this, or was I taught to think this? Independent thinking is pausing, stepping away from the herd and reasoning clearly, even if you're the only one on your side. It's rare because it demands trading comfort for honesty, acceptance for truth, and applause for integrity. Marcus Aurelius said, "The crowd never thinks, it only reacts." When you let the crowd think for you, you surrender one of humanity's greatest gifts: self-awareness. Crowds decide based on fleeting emotions, trends, opinions, and fear. But the wise know crowd emotions often lead to panic, frenzy, or collective error. History proves this. From financial bubbles to senseless wars, from discrimination to blind fanaticism, all stem from crowds refusing to think independently. Independent thinking means questioning before agreeing. It's examining an idea not to affirm it, but to understand and evaluate it. The independent mind doesn't rush to endorse popular opinions. It seeks reasons, evidence, context, and motives. It resists market hysterias, online outrage, or social approval. It has an inner compass and dares to stand alone in silence to uphold principles it deems true. A striking example is Galileo Galilei. When the world believed the sun orbited the earth, he stood alone, claiming otherwise. He faced condemnation and silencing, but history vindicated him. Without Galileo's solitary stand for truth, humanity might have lingered in error for centuries. Independent thinking isn't just intelligent, it's courageous. Today, independent thinking is more vital than ever. You're bombarded daily with thousands of information streams, conflicting opinions, and ideas presented as gospel. Without vetting sources, distinguishing truth from propaganda, or asking the right questions, you'll be swept into the collective current, losing your individuality and perspective. You become a leaf carried wherever the crowd's wind blows. Independent thinking is a habit to cultivate. Start by observing your reactions to differing opinions. Are you truly thinking or echoing what you've heard? Are you open to opposing arguments with a learning mindset, or just to refute them? Would you change your view if proven wrong? When faced with a trend, social movement, or viral opinion, ask, if I were the only one thinking differently, would I speak up? If yes, you're nearing true intellectual freedom. A simple tool to build this habit is a thought journal. Daily pick a social issue, idea, or belief you hold. Write what you think, why, where you learned it, and if there's evidence against it. This exposes gaps in your reasoning and fosters deeper understanding over blind belief. It trains self-reflection and mental clarity. Crucially, independent thinking doesn't mean you're always right. You'll often be wrong, but you'll err on your terms, learning more from it. You won't be trapped in blind conformity. You can reject outdated beliefs and choose new paths. In a world where many stay silent for approval, choosing truth is admirable. If this resonates, show it. Like the video to spread the spirit of independence. Share it with someone stuck in conformity's pressure, needing a wake-up call. Comment below, have you ever dared to stand alone and think differently from the crowd? Subscribe because the next part will teach you to turn suffering into fuel for wisdom. Redefine suffering on your own terms. Transform pain. Number 9. Redefine suffering on your own terms. Transform pain. No one escapes suffering, no matter who you are. However intelligent, wealthy, or talented, life will bring moments that knock you down, shocks that hurt so deeply you think you can't recover. What sets you apart isn't avoiding pain, but how you define it. More crucially, it's whether you can transform it into a source of wisdom and growth. That's the difference between being crushed by suffering and becoming wiser through it. Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus understood this better than most. They didn't deny pain or preach a pain-free world. Instead, they faced it, dissected it, and learned to control their response to it. When you can't change circumstances, you change how you view them. When you can't eliminate pain, you choose how to respond and turn it into fuel for your inner strength. That's true mental power, and it starts by redefining what suffering means. Have you ever felt hurt by betrayal, failure, or loss? In those moments, everything seems to collapse, but look deeper and you'll find opportunity hidden in the darkness. Betrayal teaches you discernment and the limits of trust. Failure reveals weaknesses to improve. Loss shows you the true value of what you had. Every pain carries a message. If you drown in emotion, you miss it. True intelligence doesn't come from dodging pain, but from observing it like a student studying a lesson. Sadly, modern society teaches us to fear suffering. We're obsessed with comfort, instant gratification, and quick fixes. Any discomfort is labeled must be eliminated. Anxious? Take a pill. Heartbroken? Binge videos to forget. Failed? Blame others. So when real suffering hits, we panic. We've never learned to live with it, understand it, or harness it for growth. The wise don't avoid suffering, they master it. They define it in ways that serve their evolution. Redefining suffering starts with a question, what am I learning from this? Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this teaching me? When you view pain as a stern but wise teacher, you turn wounds into weapons. Being deceived can sharpen your judgment. Losing a job can force you to uncover hidden potential. A crushing failure can shatter arrogance, replacing it with humility and resilience. Remember, history's greatest figures weren't forged in ease. They were shaped in suffering's furnace. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison, yet emerged with a heart full of forgiveness. Viktor Frankl survived Nazi death camps, turning unimaginable pain into a life-affirming philosophy for millions. Marcus Aurelius penned profound reflections on existence amid illness and war. They weren't victims of pain, they were its masters, transforming it into wisdom and purpose. You can do this too. You don't need to be a legend to use suffering as an inner forge. Each time life floors you, stand up, wipe the blood and ask, how am I stronger now? Turn wounds into reasons to live better, not to collapse. Use pain to fuel mental discipline. Clarify what truly matters, let go of trivialities, and zero in on life's core. You'll become wiser, sharper, and braver with each trial. A powerful habit is keeping a pain journal. When you feel sad, hurt, or angry, write your raw emotions, then revisit and write. What did I learn? How can I use this to improve? Just 10 minutes daily can shift you from victim to master of your mind and fate. It's not an easy path, but it leads to true wisdom. If you're suffering now, hold this close. You have the power to define it on your terms. Pain isn't the end. It can be the start of your deepest self-discovery. You're not alone, and you're not helpless. You can turn suffering into knowledge, wounds into resilience, and falls into light for your future. If this touches you, don't keep it to yourself. Like the video to show you're on this journey of inner forging. Share it with someone in pain who needs a spark. Comment below your experience with suffering and what you've learned. Subscribe to catch every part of this Mind Awakening series. You've just completed a challenging journey, not because it was long, but because it demanded you face yourself head-on. In a noisy, distracted world where people chase shortcuts to success, you've chosen the harder path, forging your intellect through inner habits, self-observation, discipline, and truth. That alone sets you apart from the crowd. But remember, knowledge is worthless without action. Wisdom doesn't become power unless you apply it in every moment of life. If this philosophy emphasizes one thing, it's this. You have the power to choose. You can choose to let go of what you can't control and focus inward. You can choose to prepare for the worst to never be blindsided. You can choose to pause between stimulus and response to avoid being a slave to emotions. You can choose to question everything, even yourself, to seek truth. You can choose to live with purpose, admit mistakes, stand alone when needed, and turn suffering into fuel. Each choice is a step toward becoming your best self. You don't need to be perfect right away. What you need is persistence. Each day, pick one habit from this journey and practice it with intention. Just one, but if you live it deeply, it will transform how you see the world. This isn't just about being smarter than others. It's about being awake, profound, resilient, and unshakable no matter what happens out there. Live as if every moment is a chance to train your mind. See every adversity as a test of your growth. Above all, act. Don't just listen or understand. Live what you know is right. That's the only way to turn wisdom into true strength. If this video moved you, share it. Someone out there, lost in the noise, might find light through the journey you've taken. Like it to support deep content, comment on the habit you're practicing or the lesson you're living, and subscribe if you haven't. There are more inner journeys, profound dialogues, and steps toward the light ahead. Stay awake, take action. Become one of the few who dare to live intelligently, not because they know more, but because they understand themselves.